Hello, fellow critics. Welcome back to the alley. It's me again, present day Fox. I'm here to stop by and see past Fox real quick. He forgot his keys again, and I'm really good at holding on to stuff, so I still got them. You guys got stuff from years ago? Memories are cool, huh? I'm a pretty sentimental guy myself. This hat is older than my son. Sometimes old things are good, and sometimes old things are bad. Like the Cabrini Greens. That place was terrible. But I'll go ahead and let past Fox tell you about that, because it definitely comes up in this episode. Well, I gotta go open that door and let him in. He left the oven on. And if that goes badly, he's gonna have a real problem on his hands. And maybe so will I, because... Okay, cool, I didn't fade away. I think we're gonna be fine. See you guys soon. Critically yours, the Fox.
Who can take a sunrise, sprinkle it with dew, cover it in chocolate and a miracle or two? Candyman. The Candyman can.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another unbelievable episode of Critic Alley. The show that combs through the hive mind created by pop culture and stabs it with our butts, like some kind of small striped insect, whose further existence and plentiful population directly impacts our planet. I'm the Fox, and if you don't know me...
This is my card.
Aha! Call ahead jokes. I love them. Today, the buzz is all about the 1992 horror film, Candyman. I know, some of you are furious with my honey puns, but bear with me, they don't last long. This gets sticky for an entirely different set of reasons. In fact, we're gonna play a little game this time, guys. Let's make it a little more interactive, a little less soapboxish. I'm gonna go gamble about in my jaunty tone, as I do. Antics and jokes abound, but every once in a while, I'm gonna give you a little clip or picture that portrays a serious issue that I found dancing throughout this movie. I won't say much, if anything, about it. Maybe just a little comment so we don't get called a boring Mystery Science Theater knockoff. But I want to see if you can see the things that I glimpsed while viewing this cinder block along the horror road. Go ahead and write me fun notes about it in the comments. Whoever has the most points wins! So, without further ado, let's begin. First, I just gotta say, look at this amazing lack of traffic. Nobody cutting each other off, and everyone can park. Wow, 92 truly was a very different time.
With my hook for a hand, I'll split you from your groin to your gullet.
Whoa, whoa, pump the brakes there, bud.
With my hook for a hand, I threaten your genitals.
Jeez, worst intro ever. All right, everyone, let's go around the circle and tell a little bit about ourselves. Hi, I'm Joe. I like to play the guitar.
Hi, Kevin. I play with the camera.
With my hook for a hand, I shall desecrate your reproductive organs, and your digestive tract shall be forfeit.
Nobody is sitting next to that guy now. Also, real quick, you see this? Those are bees. We need those bee levels. We are dangerously low on them. Maybe Old King Candy is not a spooky monster at all, but the hero that we need to bee-populate the earth. Let's watch on and find out. Of course, no horror movie is complete without the irredeemable Floozy character.
He was like a bad boy, and Michael was, he was just so nice. Tonight's the night that she's gonna give Billy what she never gave to Michael.
Have you ever heard of Candyman?
She's disgracing the sanctity of relationships and trust, delivering her lines with the blank-eyed enthusiasm of a JCPenney mannequin, crooning over this doofus that looks like he was too cool to win a race against a hare in a children's story. Turtle Power, the hooked horror, appears, after hearing his name for the 5th time, and eviscerates her. Billy Boy runs in and his hair turns white from fear. Probably gets arrested. Meet Helena Lyle, a young, up-and-coming supernatural investigator with a real passion for journalism and first-hand accounts, and a real stubborn rebel with a love for bending, even breaking the rules to get what she wants. As you could tell from her lighting up in the classroom, because chain smoking makes you cool and angsty. After listening to her story about the tortoise and the scare, she joins her partner in crime, Bernadette Walsh, the more reasonable of the two, as she finishes up her interview with the classic 90s cool guy, who who's clearly just there to try to get a date. Let's take a look at this dude bro for a second. A picture can say a lot. First, nice sweater. I can tell grandma worked real hard on it. Second, I see you got your left ear pierced. Fun fact, a thing I heard growing up in the 90s was that a straight male pierces his left ear, and piercing both your ears was for women. Kind of a weird thing to push, don't you think? I wonder if it had any ramifications on how people both view and think about each other. Oh, and one more thing. That right there, that face doesn't say, "Hey, baby," to me. That's saying, "I poop myself. There's crud in my britches." Hashtag poop face. Moving on, we jump over to University of Illinois where her husband Trevor Lyle teaches a class on urban legends and such. I know this seems really convenient, but I'm pretty sure she was a student of his prior to the relationship and maybe even during. It is not uncommon for students to develop extra feelings for their more nurturing professors. On the traversed end, there are those who are aware of this and use it to their advantage. Either side can develop feelings both genuine and sinister in nature. She catches the end of a lecture about how there are no gators in the sewer. All right, everybody, start a poll in the comments section. Gators in the sewer, believe it or not. Go. She saunters up to him and a small group of his lingering fans. One in particular she could tell is a little too fond of him because...
She could barely look me in the eyes, Trevor, and I swear she was blushing.
Well, I guess that's because she's madly in love with me.
Her jealousy may not even be unfounded, especially considering my theory of their beginning. Repeating events are called patterns. He swears it's nothing, she complains that his curriculum is affecting her thesis and her ability to gain unbiased information from the freshmen, and then they move on, leaving you to wonder how much of this is really happening and how much is a jealous psychotic break. While she reviews her recordings in another classroom, a janitor comes in to clean and overhears her talking. They hook up and discuss the recent happenings at Cabrini Green, then brings her friend in to tell more. Let's watch.
Ruthie Jean. And she heard this banging and smashing like somebody was trying to make a hole in the wall. So Ruthie called 911 and she said there's somebody coming through the walls. And they didn't believe her. They thought the lady was crazy, right? Mm-hmm. But when they finally got there, she was dead.
Notice anything? Other than our obvious attempts to avoid a copyright claim. I did. Real quick, Cabrini Green is a real place in Chicago. Constructed in 1942 as the Cabrini Row Houses. It had 586 units in 54 buildings. In 1957, the Cabrini Home Extensions, made of red brick and high-rises, with 1,925 units in 15 buildings, was completed. In 1962, William Green Homes is completed and adds 1,096 units. In 1966, a lawsuit basically saying a perpetuated segregation was filed, and it was the nation's first major public housing desegregation lawsuit. The federal judge ruling over the matter did so in favor of the accusations, and declared they basically couldn't keep building public housing units in the same area to force everyone to live there. Huge win. In 1974, the sitcom Good Times was ostensibly set in the Cabrini Green projects. Although it was never mentioned on camera, it did feature shots of the complex in the credit scenes. It ran 6 seasons on CBS. In March 1981, the mayor, Jane Bird, moved into the Cabrini Green projects to prove a point about the crime rate in Chicago. She only stayed there 3 weeks. I wonder if she was able to prove her point that fast. In 1992, you have this wonderful film. They gave it a grant to redevelop into a mixed-income neighborhood in 94, and demolition began in 95. In 2011, the last high-rise building was demolished. Now only a majority of the original Francis Cabrini homes remain intact, although primarily in poor condition with many abandoned. Look at us learning together. Since my history lesson took so long that even the movie did a time skip to try to get through it, we joined the dynamic duo at Helen's place that night while they recap their day. They discuss how her building had similar intentions to Cabrini. They talk a little history.
Once it was finished, the city soon realized that there was no barrier between here and the Gold Coast.
Unlike over there where you got the highway and the L train to keep the ghetto cut off.
Exactly, so they made some minor alterations. They covered the cinder block in plaster, and they sold the lot off as condos.
Weird little detail about the bridge thrown in there, right? And then Helen shares with her a little well-known detail about those old buildings. It was well known at the time. See? The medicine cabinets pop off and you can climb in between them. And yes, apparently this was real. It was the main route for countless criminal actions in these buildings. Everyone knew about them. So now they are feeling brave and they say Candyman 5 times in the mirror. Well, Helen does. Bernie kinda wusses out. Trevor shows up very late and very drunk, jumping on her and scaring the hell out of his wife. Good luck trying to sleep. Weird scene to include in a weird movie. Maybe it's a clue. Who knows? Next morning.
What's with the arsenal, Bernadette? We're only going 8 blocks.
You're the one who got us dressed up like cops.
Why are you trying to scare me?
I'm not trying to scare you, Helen. I just want you to think, okay? The gangs hold this whole neighborhood hostage.
Yeah, she is smart to carry an arsenal. Most women should, especially where murder happens. You're going to investigate a crime scene in the projects right now. Look, the gang's all here. YMCA for life. Dude, Tom is tall. Gee, nice Godzilla, guys. Cobra love. They creep into the derelict crime scene and find the very crawl space that the killer used. And of course, find a hole, go through it. Video game logic. Maybe she'll find a cooked turkey by smashing some of those bricks. Nom. This is where it gets interesting for me. Squelching floor? Seen it. Crispy holes, the creepy drawing? Next. But this? So stumbling through this bag of random mystery candy. That's right. She cuts herself on a razor blade stuck in a piece of candy. Boom. Hang on. 3 damage. This is when a silly Bloody Mary-like scary story becomes a real fear that has swept over mothers across America since way back when. Next we meet Anne Marie McCoy, a young, single, working mother in the projects, and she meets Helen.
Here, this is my card.
She invites them in and starts off like,
So you say you're doing a study? What you gonna say? That we bad? We steal? We gang bang? We all on drugs, eh? We ain't all like those downstairs, you know? I just want to raise my child. I don't mean to be rude, and it's the white folks that come around here ain't too handshaking with us, you know?
that says a lot. She's living here working as hard as she can to support her son Anthony. He's not very old yet, but we are going to move away from that for now because, hey, it's dinner time. Check out this Ben Franklin looking guy. You know he's got some stories. This dinner is fancy. Of course, old Ben is talking most of the time. After a brief spat with Helen, he goes into a tale about a paper he wrote 10 years ago.
But this was just the beginning of his ordeal. Nearby, there was an apiary, dozens of hives, filled with hungry bees. Candyman was stung to death by the bees.
Basically, Candyman was the son of a slave. His father came into money finding a way to mass-produce shoes. Candyman was an artist who was well known for being able to recreate portraits. So this really rich dude commissions him to make a painting of his daughter. And unfortunately, he got that someone's rich daughter pregnant. So the rich, angry grandfather-to-be decided to have him jumped. He hired some thugs to catch him, which they did publicly. They cut off his hand with a rusty saw and shoved an old hook in there, stripped him naked and covered him with honey from a conveniently local apiary, and they let the wasps sting his naked body until he assumedly died from venom-induced shock and or blood loss. Fun family story there, Ben. They burned his body and scattered the ashes over Cabrini Greens. Next day, she goes to meet up with Anne Marie again, but she isn't home, and she meets Jake instead. And Jake...
I ain't scared of nobody.
She convinces him to take her to a bathroom where a boy was recently murdered. Mom was across the street at a store. Kid had to go to the bathroom. He went across the street, and that's when it happened.
There's a big tough guy. He runs over to check it out. Come out of there shaking and crying.
The big tough guy is played by Caesar Brown, by the way. The boy was gutted by the lollipop lacerator himself. I don't care who he kills, apparently. Inside the bathroom, she finds more weird graffiti, terrible smells, and this. What could possibly be in there for them? Another bag of candy? Before we can call the Mario Bros to deal with this supernatural plumbing problem, she gets jumped by the Hook crew.
Listen, I don't want to interfere with your business.
Which includes some dudes from earlier. Main guy declares himself Candyman.
I hear you looking for Candy Man. Well, you found him.
But I don't believe he is a serial sweetener for 1 minute. So let's call him Splenda. So Splenda malices her with a hook. 8 damage. Giving her quite the concussive bash. And then it's like moments later that she picks him out of a lineup. That was fast. The detective says they're gonna pin it all on Splenda and we can all move on with our lives. She goes home to make dinner and looks surprisingly more healed than she should be.
Yeah, but you know what bugs me about the whole thing? 2 people get brutally murdered and the cops do nothing. Whereas a white woman goes in there and gets attacked and they lock the place.
So weird. I never noticed that. She goes to meet Bernie, who's glad she's fine, and gives her the pictures that she was somehow able to salvage from the camera that got destroyed by the Hook crew. She gives them to Helen and just bails out. And this is where things start getting really strange, so strap in. On the way through the parking center, she starts hearing this weird voice, and it knows her name.
Helen.
It only happens after the last car drives off, so she is completely alone. No witnesses. She gets to her car, and that's when it starts up.
Helen.
The horror money shot! Okay, quick note. Those are his feet walking with no sunlight. Here he is standing in sunlight with his back against the wall. What was the point of the walking bit? To show off his killer new kicks? She couldn't and didn't hear him walking. Where's the payoff, guys? Just a fun bit for some nerdy weirdo to point out 28 years later? Really? Anyway, let's talk about the Candy Crush champion for a minute. His powers seem rather limited. The robust robed rogue seems proficient in mesmerizing his victims and then getting them to do his bidding. He doesn't seem to be able to keep a physical form for long, if at all, and we'll touch on that again later. It would appear he is primarily a threat to those who conjured him, although it doesn't explain the bathroom boy. Unless he conjured him in there. And those other innocent people that weren't directly conjuring him could have been killed by somebody who was possessed by him. He shows himself to her and hits her with visions. 11 damage. While she is weak, he mesmerizes her and says,
Be my victim.
Haha, get it? And she wakes up on a bathroom floor covered in blood, with apparently no memory. If you're walking through a house with no memory, why pick up the knife next to the dead dog? Even if you didn't kill the dog, you look real suspect now that your prints are on the blade. She finds Anne-Marie standing over the blood-soaked crib when Helen decides to walk in like this. So obviously Anne-Marie freaks out and rushes her. What would you do? She chases her around, catches Helen, and beats her head into the floor. 2, 5, 6, 7, 4, 9, 4, and then 5 damage. I think it's safe to say that Helen has serious brain damage. The police arrive, take them both into custody. Even though Anne-Marie takes a totally emotion-driven move and rushes the police officer, knife in hand, they do not shoot her. They disarm her, and they cart them both off away. Her detective friend Frank is so mad at her. He officially places her under arrest, reads the charges, and reads her the facts as they stand.
At approximately 10 p.m., Anne-Marie McCoy returned to her apartment. She discovered her dog with its head cut off. She cried for assistance, at which point you attacked her with a meat cleaver.
She claims innocence, but she had the knife used to kill the dog and attack Anne-Marie when the police arrived. So...
She was still in possession of this weapon when the arresting officers came to her aid.
Do you think she did it?
Yes or no?
The baby is still missing, by the way.
Where's the baby?
No body was found. She uses her phone call to try to contact Trevor at 3 a.m., but... Trevor shows up the next morning, they go home, she claims amnesia. Trevor's gotta go pick up some work from the school. When Helen asks where he was last night for the phone call, he replies that he was fast asleep. But we know the truth. Now that she's alone, she figures she might as well start going through the pictures that were saved, one by one until she finds him. standing behind her in one of the pictures. Or maybe it's just a smudge. But either way, she wanders down the hall into another panicked waking nightmare. The hash-slinging slasher chases her around and gives her some weird monologue about how he has the child now, and how her lack of faith has somehow ruined his congregation, and how she's gonna become his new martyr wife. Bernie shows up and the demon of dentistry opens a cavity in her. But the fever dream is broken when Trevor comes home and finds Bernie's body in the living room, and an incoherent, muttering Helen in the kitchen with a knife. So she gets lifted off into a happy wagon. We see the baby in the old derelict apartment hanging out with Mr. Rusty Tip. They wheel Helen back to her room, all zip-tied up in the bloody clothes they found her in. Do they routinely leave people in their Murder Monday outfits when they get committed? Like a fun guess what I'm in for the other patients get to play? So he visits her, she freaks out, they sedate her, and once again, we're shown another scene of dude hanging out on the walls with the baby again. I don't know why it keeps going back to this. Then they take her to see Dr. Burke. She has been there for a month, to her surprise, on a heavy diet of Thorazine. And she's still living in this heavy denial that she didn't do it. And she can prove it. She looks into the mirror, and she calls out for him, and nothing happens. Until... oh yeah, and this. Also, have you ever seen anyone do that before? Jump backwards out of a window? Cool trick, bro. She sneaks out, disguised as a nurse, runs home, and finds everything all wrapped up, and that girl that she was worried about earlier, yeah, she's there painting the house a different color. And Trevor in a bathrobe, scoundrel! She gets into homicidal hush tones as she begins making a scene. This plays very much into the jealous, insane wife theory. That night, she sneaks back into Cabrini because she has to. She brings her trusty penlight and a hook that she found into the darkness. Helen discovers a murder mural, because apparently everyone that goes through tragic events has it painted on walls, then finds the Sweet Tooth Spectre taking a nap. She gets to jump on him and stabs him with her hook, but it only wakes him up, and he's like really happy to see her. He's like, oh, hey! She falls into his arms and he carries her off to a pedestal during a monologue. That's when he kisses her with B-mouth, which obviously kills her, and he's like, sad and surprised by this. What'd you think was gonna happen, dude? You had B-mouth. But it's okay, because she wakes up, grabs her hook, and goes on over to check out the fresh paint on the murder mural that she was just looking at, you know? Wonder who did that so quick. And then she inexplicably hears the baby cry. She follows it and finds baby Anthony inside this insane garbage pile. Everyone's apparently been throwing stuff into this for a while now for a bonfire to celebrate. They didn't really say what the party was for earlier. And you're telling me that she heard that baby inside that junk pile from way up there? Sure. But the baby is alive! She climbs in and finds him. While she's digging around with that hook that she brought with, Jake happens to peek out the window and see the hook and thinks, there he is. He calls everyone from the Cabrini projects over so they can watch the party pile burn with what they believe is Candyman inside. Jake even gets to throw the torch himself. As she finally gets to the baby, Spooky McSweets appear and grabs her from behind. She reaches out and grabs this broken burning beam and stabs him in the heart with it, which is double kill for a vampire, by the way. Then she goes crawling out, saving the baby, literally handing the baby back to his mother, who happened to show up for the party pile burn, and then dying from her severe burns. Huge turnout for the funeral, though. Good job, guys. Then, what appears to be all of Cabrini Green's residents show up. They came in honor of her since she was the one who stopped the monster. Jake even drops in the hook of the monster. What I want to know is, how did the baby go missing for a month and survive? A baby. It can't crawl around yet. Anyway, we join Trevor at home as a student lover makes dinner. He's feeling miserable and regretting decisions he's made. Missing Helen and how she used to dance around the house. Then he turns off the light, sobbing gently, and says, "Oh, Helen," to himself in the mirror, and repeats her name again and again. On the fifth time,
Scared of something.
She buries her hook deep inside of him for his Jezebel to find and probably go to jail for. You should have appreciated her more, Trevor. It's almost sad to see, but both of these two seem to be using each other at some point. So it's good she got revenge, I guess. But I suggest that we just treat each other with enough respect and communicate our problems, instead of waiting for them to manifest into murderous boogeymen and boogie women. Hashtag boogie women. Hashtag scary quality. Madness, am I right? So tell me what you think. Was it all in her head? Spooky monster or psychotic break? Did you notice any weird patterns? Do you think I flap around too much like some sort of frantic bird? If so, what kind of bird? Tell me about it down in the comments. I look forward to doing this all again next time. Until then, stay skeptical. Critically yours, The Fox.